McLaren scratches its head and wonders, are we at risk from Max Verstappen? Ford announces a 100% factory-backed program for its hypercar in the WEC. 𝘾𝙤𝙥𝙮𝙧𝙞𝙤𝙳 goes electric. An official announcement confirms the Brazilian driver's move to the Andretti team in Formula E. Romain Grosjean returns to the Haas car, a true farewell 5 years after that accident. Mick Schumacher will test an Indy car for the first time Friday, September 26, 2025. There's no Formula One this weekend, but as always, the news keeps coming, and on Sunday, we have a special episode. So before you kick off the weekend, sit down and let's talk about everything. Let's go. McLaren believes that Max Verstappen is now on their radar and, at least when it comes to victories, is a real threat. After Sunday's win in Baku, which adds to his previous victory in Monza, Max Verstappen now has 2 in a row and is currently 69 points behind the leader. That's a point for 𝑘𝙤𝙤, but at this stage, no matter how much of a die-hard Max Verstappen fan you are, it's undeniable. Red Bull has unlocked a lot of potential in their car, and both drivers have stepped up their performance. Verstappen was fighting for a podium, and now he started winning. Yuki Tsunoda was struggling just to score points, and now he's been making it to Q3 and achieved his best result for Red Bull last Sunday. 6th place. 6th place, holding off a McLaren and 2 Ferraris right behind him. That's no small feat. It's true, however, that this could just be temporary because both tracks, Monza and Baku, as surreal as it may seem, are actually quite similar. Long stretches of heavy acceleration, very strong braking zones, and corners where you go slow and downforce isn't important. The 3 chicanes at Monza and the corners at Baku, this makes the 2 tracks very similar, requiring stability under braking and traction for re-acceleration. An extremely low drag for the high-speed sections. McLaren is also working with the information they heard on Red Bull's radio. Everyone listens to everyone else's radio. That Verstappen's team has been running with a lower ride height setup. That's something they hadn't been able to do for a number of reasons, because it's not just a simple conclusion. Like, if lowering it makes it better, let's just lower it. Sometimes you can't take full advantage of that because of limitations in your design. In Ferrari's case, for example, this became clear. The car was hitting the floor, wearing down the skid block, which led to disqualification, so they couldn't run any lower. McLaren's team principal, Andrea Stella, believes that Verstappen is back in the game, fighting for wins, and that's why the championship is still wide open. And Stella says that the conclusion from the Monza race and the way they analyzed the data internally was that Red Bull's performance at Monza shouldn't be seen as an isolated event because of the track or the low downforce. They introduced a new floor at Monza and might be setting up the car in a slightly different way. Now, Verstappen is talking much more about the asphalt in radio conversations than before, so they may have unlocked the performance. Translating this idea of unlocking performance, it basically means that the car had potential, they just weren't finding the setup window to get there. And Stella also said, I wouldn't be surprised if Red Bull could continue the streak that started with the pole position and victory in Monza. Victory there and the pole and victory here. Here, in this case, in Baku, Red Bull is a strong contender to win races and a strong contender for the Drivers' Championship. On the Monday after the Baku Grand Prix, we did a mathematical exercise here explaining that it's possible for Verstappen to win the championship depending only on his own results, winning all the races and winning the sprints. Because then, regardless of what Piastri could do, even if he finished second every time, ignoring Lando Norris, who every now and then, when he gets in the mix, as we know, even then he wouldn't score enough points. The problem, as we know, is that winning every race until the end is not something simple, but it actually happened in 2023. That year, Red Bull won all but 1 race, which went to Carlos Sainz in Singapore, and Verstappen won all but 3, because besides that one by Sainz, Perez won 2. In Baku, Red Bull used a very low drag rear wing from the same family as the one used in Silverstone and Monza, this time without needing to trim the upper flap. The team also brought a new floor to Monza that had appeared on Tsunoda's car in Baku, his best performance of the year, not by chance. The improvement in performance for both was clear, and Tsunoda's progress indicates that the car as a whole is working better. What remains to be seen now is how far this can take them. And the truth is that Verstappen, in the role of a lone gunman with little or nothing to lose since he was already out of the championship fight, could become, with 4 championships under his belt, an element that complicates things for the other 2. And none of them has been champion yet. One more element of pressure on the minds of two rookies fighting for the championship. Rookies, Lando Norris, the favorite to be criticized for his mental strength, and Oscar Piastri, who is spared from that, but come for one, counting several. I mentioned here on Sunday's Live at least 4 recent episodes where he lost his cool. Battling for position with Norris in Austria, in Hungary, the qualifying session in Baku, and also the race in Azerbaijan. Preparing for its return to endurance racing known as endurance, Ford had announced in June who its chassis partner would be, 𝘾𝙤𝙥𝙮𝙧𝙞𝙤𝙀, and its program manager, Dan Sayers. And after that, nothing else. And this week, they provided more details about what is actually going to happen and who will operate their team. There was a lot of speculation about who the partner would be, and these major manufacturers have been working with teams that have track experience, like Ferrari with AF Corse, Porsche with Penske, and Ford announced that it will operate internally. They are going to build a racing team. Mark Rushbrook, the program director, said at Ford, "Competition runs in our veins. And as America's racing team, it seems only right that we carry this flag ourselves. Staying true to our core values, our hypercar program will be operated by Ford Racing. This gives us the ability to react more quickly on the track, increasing our competitiveness. A similar decision was made by the manufacturer Genesis. And this sets apart what the two have been doing from what I mentioned before. The others always have a manufacturer footing the bill and a racing team with experience making the operation work. Ford Racing also mentioned that its structure for the hypercar program will be based in the United Kingdom, which makes perfect sense. We always say here that if you want to work in motorsport, it's better to set up shop close to everyone else. They didn't specify where, but the suspicion is that it will be in a 19,000 square meter building belonging to Venture Engineering near Oxford. Felipe Drugovich had his future confirmed this week. This is news we've already mentioned here. He will be a driver for Andretti in Formula E, Formula 2 champion in 2022. Drugovich spent 3 years as a reserve driver for the Aston Martin team, took part in some free practice sessions, and came close several times to racing in Grand Prix when Alonso and Lance Stroll were at risk of not competing. But in the end, he didn't race in any Grand Prix during that whole period. He competed in some races in the European Le Mans Series and raced for Cadillac in IMSA and WEC. During this period, he also tested a Maserati car in Formula E, left the matter open, ended up turning down an opportunity in IndyCar, and now, after 3 years of waiting, he's finally getting back to work. Let's say actively, he will race for Andretti in the season that starts now at the end of 2025 for the Andretti team. As for his chances of one day becoming a full-time Formula 1 driver, the saying goes, never say never. But now the chances are much smaller. After all, it's quite likely that due to scheduling conflicts, he'll be less and less present in the Formula 1 paddock if he even gets renewed as a reserve for Aston Martin or any other team. It is true, however, that Andretti from Formula E and TWG, owner of the Cadillac Formula 1 team, have a very close relationship. Over the past few years, Drugovich has taken part in 7 free practice sessions from Abu Dhabi 2022 to Hungary in 2025. And as the talented driver he is, he will now race in a top-tier international category. Formula E, full of manufacturers, sponsors, visibility, in short, a place for drivers. It's on the track, all the best to him. Almost 5 years after that terrible accident in Bahrain that could have cost him his life, Romain Grosjean is back in a Haas car. The end of his journey in Formula 1 ended up happening 2 races earlier than expected, since Grosjean would not continue with Haas in 2021, but he had a contract to finish that season and did not race in the Sakir Grand Prix or the following week in Abu Dhabi, giving the seat to Pietro Fittipaldi. During that period, Mercedes even offered Grosjean the chance for a farewell that ultimately never happened. And half a decade later, Haas invited the driver for a test day last Friday at Mugello in Italy. This was only possible thanks to a partnership with Toyota, which by providing logistical support allows Haas to carry out the so-called TPCs, or test of previous cars, testing previous cars from past years. And with this infrastructure, 2 Japanese drivers drove at Fuji in Japan. I'll show you the footage here. It also allowed Grosjean to finally have his proper farewell from Formula 1. It rained, which was not ideal, but in any case, he said it was an excellent day on track. After a few laps, he said the rust was gone, and he even managed to practice standing starts. Mick Schumacher will test an Indy car, considering his options for the future. The son of the 7-time German champion raced in Formula One in 2021 and 2022, did a few seasons in the WEC with the Alpine team, had ambitions with the French team, and was also flirting with Cadillac, which ended up signing Valtteri Bottas and Sergio Perez. And now, once aware that there is no place for him in Formula One, he is starting to reconsider his options. The test is expected to take place on October 13th at the Indianapolis Road Course of Indy, the one used for the Indianapolis Indy Grand Prix, with the car from Rahal Letterman Lanigan Racing. And Michael Schumacher's son commented, "I'm looking forward to my first test in IndyCar. A big thank you to Rahal Letterman Lanigan Racing for giving me this opportunity. I'm very curious to understand the special characteristics of the car and also the circuit, which is different from what I'm used to driving. More similar. I'm still very interested in gaining experience in the diverse world of motorsport. It's no secret that I'm a fan of single-seater racing, so this first test in Indy will be an unforgettable experience, and I'm looking forward to driving a car where I can see my wheels." Will Mick Schumacher, like so many others who have not found a place in Formula One recently and came from Formula 2, cross the Atlantic? On the current Indy grid, off the top of my head, I remember Christian Lundgaard, Marcus Armstrong, Robert Schwartzman. These guys raced for Prema in Formula 2 and were part of Ferrari's driver program. Same goes for Callum Elott. I think that's all of them, so that's already at least 4. The thing with Mick Schumacher is simple. He had the speed for Formula 1, but he crashed too much, and there's no way around that. But he definitely knows how to drive, so he'll find a spot in a top category, like Indy, for example. Why not? On Tuesday, the main episode of the week was about how a full Formula 1 weekend works. Hour by hour, minute by minute. Have you ever stopped to think about that? Has anyone ever explained it to you? Well, check out the video. People are really enjoying it. And I, on my end, really enjoyed making it. I love researching these things to share with you. When do the drivers arrive? When do they leave? What time does the track open? What time does it close? Why does the safety car go out first? Why does the medical car go out after? Why do the drivers get out of the car and weigh themselves? Why are the cars taken on skates to the FIA garage? What happens 40 minutes before the start? What signal sounds 2 minutes before the pit lane closes? Anyway, a ton of details for you to understand. Insanely fascinating. On Wednesday, a little big story explaining why a watch manufacturer is credited with Formula One victories as an engine supplier for Red Bull cars in 2016, 2017, and 2018. Therefore, Verstappen's first victories in Formula One have 𝘾𝙤𝙥 as the engine manufacturer. And this Sunday, there's no Formula One, but we have special programming. An extra episode here showing you my visit to the wind tunnel at the USP Aeronautical Engineering School in San Carlos. Have you ever seen a wind tunnel from the inside? Well, you will now. Next Sunday, we have the Singapore Grand Prix weekend, when we'll have a giveaway of prizes provided by our partner Rehab, Lego Kits, Ferrari, Aston Martin, Sauber, and 3 minifigures. Here's the Rehab QR code, and there's also a link down below in the description and in the first comment. Use my link so the sponsor is happy and knows it's working. There you'll find collectible items, Legos, miniatures, all sorts of things, Hot Wheels, and so on. I actually need to put the Hot Wheels and Formula One cars in our wind tunnel. It's a promise. I need to do it. Leave a like. It's free, costs nothing. You know, it really helps the channel a lot. To do it for me, do it for us too, especially on weekends without Formula One. Why not? It's because of you guys who like, comment, and hype things up that we have the biggest and best Formula One audience in Brazil. It's a self-sustaining cycle. There's no point in liking the previous video and not this one, so go ahead and leave a like. It's ridiculously easy to do. You can do it on your TV too. Just use the remote, go up with the arrow, and hit OK. So you don't miss anything we do here. We have notification channels, Instagram, Telegram, and WhatsApp. You'll always get an automatic message as soon as we publish any of our content. That way you won't miss anything and we won't have to rely on YouTube to remind you. Finally, we're getting close to 100,000 followers on our Instagram. It's already caught. Commemorative card ready. The arroba of this social network and others are showing here. Twitter, Threads, and TikTok. Link below for you to follow us where there is content all the time. So that's it. Friday. I enjoyed a mini vacation this week. I'm back here working. It costs. That hug. It's Friday and